Well, hey everybody, welcome back to another video here on the Washington Football Maniacs YouTube channel. My name is Greg, and if you're new here, thank you for stumbling across this channel. Hopefully you'll find something of interest and you'll want to subscribe, and when you do, make sure when you do subscribe that you hit that notification bell so it will let you know when I release another video, because I am likely to release these videos at not the same exact time each day, or even to release a video each day. That being said, let's get into today's video, shall we? So, we've been going through OTAs, and things look a little bit crisper than past OTAs. And I think that is in part thanks to Eric Bieniemy, who he's instilling this new sense of urgency for the Washington Commanders offense. He's getting them in the habit of getting into their huddle, breaking the huddle, getting to the line, and snapping the ball. Now, I'm not saying that, a hurry-up offense or anything like that, but a more sense of urgency, snappiness to, not lazing around and just lackadaisical getting into the huddle and calling the play, but being urgent about it. Because when you get into a real game scenario, you're going to want to be crisp, efficient, and in and out of the huddle. You want to be able to have enough time to substitute players, rotate, and all that stuff. So, it's going to be important to establish that time in your head. And so he's instilling a lot of that in his quarterback, Sam Howell. He kind of chewed on him about that. And Sam Howell loves it. He wants to be coached hard. And that's going to be the big difference between what we had with Scott Turner and, of course, Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy is going to coach you hard. He's going to coach you fair, but he's going to coach you hard. Scott Turner wasn't like that. I think Turner was probably more of, he wants to develop the plays. He wants to try to, develop himself as a play caller, not so much as probably a coach, right? Eric Bieniemy is going to be a head coach in this league someday. And who knows, it may come with Washington Commanders. And if that's the case, then we're seeing it right now in OTAs, and it's starting even there. And this is a really good sign if you're a fan of the Washington Commanders, because, he's an assistant head coach. That doesn't mean that you take a back seat and you let the head coach kind of drive. No, the head coach is expecting his position coaches as coordinators to act as much of head coaches as possible. And we saw this with Jack Del Rio on the defensive side of the ball, so why not Eric Bieniemy on the offensive side of the ball? And I think that when you start to see these type of coaches coming into the system and really taking over and coaching, hard coaching, but fair coaching, I think that's when you're going to start to see progress on the field. And I've heard nothing but good things for Sam Howell so far. Now, Ron Rivera did stress that even though that Sam Howell is going into the season at QB1, doesn't necessarily mean he's going to end the season at QB1. It really depends on his health, really depends on his performance, right? He's got to maintain that performance. Nothing is guaranteed to you, nothing is given to you. We have Jacoby Brissett, who, yes, he's been a journeyman, but he is one of probably the best backup quarterbacks that you could ask for. And he's going to come in, he's going to win a few games for you. It's kind of like, what we had in Taylor Heinicke, except I think Brissett probably has a better arm than Heinicke. And, I'm not going to sit here and split hairs on quality of quarterbacks, but I think that Brissett probably could win you a few more games. That being said, there's certainly chances that you're going to see him during the season, but let's hope not, right? Let's hope that Sam Howell And I said this in my last video, and go back and watch it, but I really think Sam Howell is our franchise quarterback. I've heard so much good things about him, what little that I have gotten to see from him on the field, and some of that has been a really good what I call opportunity to see in a real scenario. Last game of the preseason against the team that had everything to play for and had all their starters in there, and they were going into the playoffs. I'm talking about that game against the Dallas Cowboys, and Sam Howell played very well in that game. Yes, he had to pick, but he played very well in that game. And I think that when you have seen what little have you seen, but what little have you seen with Sam Howell has been very positive. And I'm not seeing a quarterback that is a guy that is kind of, deer in headlights, that, I'm just going to go out there and try my best. He's not bringing that attitude in there. He's kind of bringing the attitude of, I'm going to take command. No pun intended. But he's going to take command of the offense. That's what he was drafted to do, and that's what he's going to do. Terry McLaurin even said that Sam Howell's taking the bull by its horns. And so let's see what happens. Let's see what happens with Sam Howell this year. But I'm very excited about him. The other thing that people have been talking about is the absence of Chase Young in OTAs and how it sends a bad message to everybody, to the organization, to the coaches, to the fans especially after that horrendous, it was a bad injury. It was a bad injury that really took away, honestly, a year and a half of his playing time. And of course, he was denied that fifth-year option. This is a make it or break it year for Chase Young, as it really should be. And yet he's not in OTAs. Now, folks, OTAs, this was not mandatory. So he is working out. He is getting himself prepared. It really comes down to what is he going to do when it comes down to the regular season. And yeah, you can make the argument of, appearances. Appearances can really mean everything when it comes down to, or perception, I think would be a better term for it, really comes down to everything with this. And having Chase Young and OTAs there, that perception would have been very good for the Washington Commanders, for the fans. They're seeing, okay, he's going to go out there, he's going to show to you this year that there's a reason why that you draft Chase Young second overall. And, really though, I want him to show it during the regular season. So I can definitely forgive him for not showing up for voluntary OTAs and all of that stuff, as long as that, he remains healthy and he is working on improving himself, having all the confidence in the world in that knee, and that knee is 100%, 110% strong, and then having him show up in the regular season and be the Chase Young that he was in 2020. If all those things fall into place and he can do that, I'm fine. This team would be better having Chase Young there at 110% as opposed to a Chase Young who's 70% and probably going to be jettisoned somewhere else next season, because we've already proved that defense is a stout defense. That defensive line is a very stout defensive line without Chase Young. So, but it's just gravy on top. If we can have Chase Young back to his old form from 2020, it just makes it even more impossible for opposing offenses. So, folks, amongst all of that, we're still having issues getting the sale finalized. And with the sale not being finalized yet, it's it's making me nervous, okay? It's making me nervous because, quite frankly, what is the big deal? Why are we spending so much time? Why is this deal not done yet? I mean, I understand that Josh Harris seems to have, like, I don't know, 50 plus contributors, trying to make sure they have enough funds to get this through. And I understand there is a case of $1 billion of this was unsecured funds. Just get the deal done. I mean, look, Josh Harris, he owns 2 other sports franchises. He's really done wonders for the 76ers. Just let him just finalize this deal, because he was already vetted for the Denver Broncos, and that deal fell through. I mean, I just don't really understand why this is taking so long for the Washington Commanders. It makes me feel like this is kind of like a parting blow to Dan Snyder too, because I know one part of this deal that I really honestly didn't care about either was the part about Dan Snyder for the next couple of years getting some sort of kickback. And I know that there was some sort of discrepancy between that. It was like either $400 million or $200 million that he was going to continue to receive, I guess, from the profits that the Commanders would be making, projected profits. And, we all don't want Snyder to profit anything off the team once this deal is done. And so I think with all of that, there might be some sort of thing with the other owners where they're like, we just want Snyder completely out of the picture. We don't want him to profit off of anything with his team. So I don't know. I just want the deal done because it really starts to make me nervous. And I feel like that the Josh Harris group is the best vetted group for this franchise. I don't know anything about this guy from Canada, and it seems awful eerie that things could fall in place where still the guy from Canada swoops in and buys the team, and then it turns into another Snyder thing because nobody knows anything about this guy. And I don't think this guy knows anything about running a sports franchise. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? And who's to say that this guy from Canada wouldn't decide to move the franchise to Canada anyway, right? Because there's always been talk, expanding the NFL globally. Well, Canada has been in football for years. And so, there had been talk before about sending Buffalo to Canada. I mean, that would be close anyway, right? But having a Canadian owner who would want to move the Commanders to Canada, yeah, I mean, that could definitely happen. I could see it happening. So those are my fears with that. I just want this deal done. I figured it would have been done by now. Let's get it done. I mean, Snyder's already made an official announcement about accepting Harris's offer. So I don't think that you can go back on that. I don't know. I don't know anything about that. All I know is I just want that part done so we can stop talking about the ownership. We can start talking about more football. That's it. Speaking of talking, I have talked long enough. So you guys, let me know what you think in the comments section about all that we've covered today, from Sam Howell to Eric Bieniemy to Chase Young to this whole fiasco on the ownership stuff. Let me know your thoughts. It's been a while since I caught up with you, but thank you for sticking with me. Also, I will be joining another podcast, co-hosting with my buddy Brandon Scott. We will be getting that going possibly next week. So I will give you more details on that. And it will all be fun. Okay, folks, you enjoy yourselves. I'll see you in the next one.